I shine it to my left, I shine it to my right, I shine it to my left again, and I have my brights on. And as soon as I put the gun down, I look up, and behind this brush pile that's probably 4 foot, 4.5 foot tall, well, I'd probably say it's more like 3.5, 4 foot tall, I see this long, white, like pale, like human looking thing crawling behind this rock.
Out in the woods, shadows creep slow. Footprints deep where no man should go. Cold winds howl through hollers and brooks. Whispers of Bigfoot in the way it looks. Myths, monsters, and mullets in the night. Under a pale moon, strange glowing light. Truth out there like a blade it cuts. Myths, monsters, and mullets run amok.
Welcome back to Myths, Monsters, and Mullets, the show where the strange, the unexplained, and the weird take center stage, and where the people behind the encounters matter just as much as the encounters themselves. We're not just here to talk about what was seen. We're here to understand who saw it, how it changed them, and why it still matters. Before we get started, quick shout out to our supporters over on Patreon. If you'd like to help keep the show independent, ad-free, and unapologetically weird, head on over to our Patreon. You'll find members episodes, early access to all the public episodes, and bonus material you won't see or hear anywhere else. If you've had an encounter or something strange that you've just never been able to explain, I want to hear from you. Email me at mythsandmullets@gmail.com. That's mythsandmullets@gmail.com. Your experience could be featured on a future episode. It's coming up fast. Mark your calendars, June 6th, 2026. I'll be speaking at the Arkansas Cryptid Fest in North Little Rock, Arkansas. If you're into cryptids, folklore, and listening to great speakers, that's where you need to be. If you haven't yet, make sure you've hit that subscribe button. Make sure you're following me on all your favorite podcast platforms. Give this episode a like, leave a comment, leave us a review. That'll help us with the algorithm, and that's the best way to grow the show. Make sure you check the descriptions on all my episodes. Down below, you're going to find a list of all my favorite podcasts, from Nevermore Hollows, Drunken Cryptids, Chumming with the Spirits, Ghost Gossip, and so much more. And while you're over there listening to their shows, leave them a comment and tell them John sent you. And with that, let's start the show. Welcome back to Myths, Monsters, and Mullets. I am your host, John Methenkamp. On tonight's show, we have Kornbread, and that's his given name. It's an old family name. He's from the Kornbread line. But no, Kornbread's dad actually reached out to me after hearing my story and said, you need to talk to my son. So, Kornbread, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us how you got the name Kornbread?
All right, so what's going on, everybody? My name's Kornbread, or Mark. I'm a country rap artist out of Wood River, Illinois. I actually got the nickname Kornbread was whenever I was right out of high school. I was working at Home Depot, and this guy that worked with me in the paint department, he had a nickname for everybody. And it's a department store. Everybody typically wears basketball shorts and tennis shoes, and every day I'd wear jeans and boots and whatever shirt. And he was like, "Oh, you a good old boy, man. So I'm gonna start calling you Kornbread." So I got that nickname. My buddies would come hang out with me whenever I was working, and they kind of picked up on it. So it's just kind of stuck ever since then. And whenever I started making music, I just went by that name, and everybody liked it. So I was like, we're gonna rock with it.
How long have you been doing music?
Oh man, probably about 3.5, 4 years now. Been
Were
doing
you
that.
always into the country rap, or were you more conventional at first?
Man, I'm more of you listen to what I listen to. I listen to a lot of Southern rock, a lot of country, a lot of classic rock, stuff like that. But I also do like the country rock stuff, or the country rap stuff, such as like Adam Calhoun, Ryan Upchurch, Demon Jones, them guys. I've actually gotten the chance to share the stage with those guys multiple times. So, watching those guys coming up to being able to play festivals and playing shows with them. It's really a cool experience, and just to see like if you really put your mind to something, you can really do what you want to do. You know what I mean? So it's pretty cool to on that aspect.
Well, that's awesome. So do you just play locally or do you tour or
Just really depends. I mean, I've played everywhere from local dive bars in my area all the way to um, big mud parks in West Virginia, upstate Illinois, Louisiana, Missouri, Indiana, just everywhere. I've been to each corner of the United States doing this stuff, and that's kind of just wherever it takes me is wherever I'll go. If I get booked, I get booked. I'll show up.
that's awesome. That's awesome. So when your dad contacted me, and I've been really looking forward to this interview because anybody who's listened to my show or heard my encounter knows what I saw. And your dad was like, he saw something similar. So
Right.
I've been really looking forward to this. Um, why don't you just kind of tell us what was going on and what happened?
All right, man. So it was October 25th, 2024. Man, I'll never forget the day. I was out of my campground in Sullivan, Missouri,
Hang
and
on, hang on, hang on. Did you say October 25th?
yeah,
That was
2024.
like literally 1 month before my encounter.
Really,
Mine was November 30th of that year.
really, wow. See, I
Yeah.
I watched your experience, but I don't remember the date. But
Yeah.
I have the video on my phone that I actually caught some some footage on from that night. And so anyways, it was October 25th, 2024. I was at my campground in Sullivan, Missouri, and if anybody doesn't know where that is, it's straight down Highway 44, right before you get to Rolla, which is a really big, point in Missouri where people go to trout fish, camp, stuff like that. But we're out there. We're probably 40 to 45 miles away from the nearest town, like as far as Walmarts and gas stations and stuff like that. But yeah, I was just out there one night because I was getting ready to have my knee operated on, and I was just like, I want to go out to my campground before I go and be laid up for months. So I want to go do this, and one more time for I can't. So went out there. Didn't even take my four wheeler with me. I was just riding around in my truck, and I seen on Facebook that the beer garden up there, which is the store, has a beer garden, and they have a stage up there with live music and stuff like that. Well, they were open that night, and they were had the bar open. Well, I was like, I'm gonna go up there. Wound up going up there, and there wasn't too many people out there, but just was hanging out with a couple people that I knew, and I was like, screw it, I'm gonna go to the lake parking lot. And the lake parking lot is, that's where everybody goes and hangs out when there's not really much going on. So I pull up in there, there's nobody there, and this is where stuff really starts to get weird. Was sitting in the lake parking lot is probably I'd probably say 11 o'clock, 11:30 at the latest, and I get out of my truck, I grab a beer out of the back of my truck, and that was it's I've only had probably my this is my second beer, so I was not inebriated, was not intoxicated at all during this whole experience. This is probably, like I said, my second beer. And I get it out, I crack it open, take a drink, and I'm leaning over the bed of my truck, and I'm like scrolling on Facebook. Well, I start hearing like scattering in the rocks behind me because it's a gravel parking lot. And I'm like, what is that? Turn around, I don't see anything. So I pull out my Snapchat and I start recording behind me, and I send it to my group chat with me, my brother, my buddy, and my cousin. And I'm like, I know y'all hear this. Like, this is, there's nobody out here, and I don't have the Snapchat anymore, but I wish I did. But you know, you could hear it in the video. You could hear the footsteps walking around. So I'm like, this is kind of dead. I'm like, I'm gonna go back to the lot, probably cook up some burgers and just hang out by the fire. Well, I'll never forget it. Getting getting chills. But I get in my truck, I pull out, and I'm going down the main road. Well, I pass the turn where I'm supposed to turn because I was like, I ain't got nothing but time. I'm gonna take the long way. So I get to going off the paved road, and I'm going down this hill, around the back of the campsite. There's nobody out here, mind you. This is like late October. Nobody's really out there. It's getting cold. It's fall season, and they're just not out there. And it was an off weekend, but I'm getting to going down the hill. Well, I turn, and there's another hill you go down, kind of into a ravine area where there's a bathhouse. Well, I'm driving. I'm listening to Voodoo Child by Stevie Ray Vaughan, and I'm coming down the hill, and I got the windows down, and I cross this little creek. There's two creek crossings that you can cross before you get to the bathhouse. And I crossed the first creek, and I had my firearm with me, which has a light on it, and I shined it right, and I shined it left. Put it down, drove to the second creek crossing. I shined it to my left, I shined it to my right, I shined it to my left again, and I had my brights on. And as soon as I put the gun down, I look up, and behind this brush pile that's probably 4 foot, 4.5 foot tall. Well, I'd probably say it's more like 3.5, 4 foot tall. I see this long, white, like pale, like human looking thing crawling behind this rock, like behind this brush pile. I go to I straight 2 and 10. I have my brights on. I'm looking dead at this thing, and I'm like, I don't know what to think. I'm just in shock. I turn, and I'm down in, like I said, in this ravine. There's nobody down there. I have no cell phone service, nothing. I turn, and I go down the road, and I kinda punched it a little bit, but I didn't, like, freak out, but I'm like, I locked on this thing. I know what I seen. I take the turn, go down the road, go up the hill, and as soon as I get to the top of the hill, I call my dad. I'm freaking out. I'm panicking. I don't know what the heck just happened. I'm hyperventilating. I can't talk. He thought I wrecked my truck. And he was like, "Where are you at? Where you at? I'm coming to get you." I was like, "I'm fine." He was like, and he thought I had been drinking. He's like, "This is why I told you don't be doing this. Don't be." And I'm like, "No." I'm like, "Get your flashlight, dude. My legs are shaking." But I'm like,
You're fine,
"Get
dude.
your
You're fine.
flashlight, come out in the road, and come out in the road so I can see you." And he's like, "What happened? What happened?" I was like, "I'll tell you when I get there." Get to pull into the parking lot, like the driveway of the lot, and he just looks at me and he's like, "What is going on with you?" And I tell him, and he thinks I'm playing a joke on him. And I'm like, "No, there's no joking aspect of any of this." He's like, "Oh, so and so are playing jokes, you better come out because I'm not playing games out here. Like this is not the place to be playing games, and it's around the Halloween season, so this would be the perfect time for a game like that." And I'm like, "This is no nothing. I can't explain to you how much this is not a joke." Well, we sit down and we're talking, and there's a friend of ours that was gonna come over, and they were gonna ride the three-wheeler over. My dad's like, "Hey, don't, like, if you're coming over this way, don't go down by Greystone Bathhouse. Come up around the main road." And am I making any sense when I'm talking?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all
No,
right.
I'm following you. You're
I
good.
just want to make
I'm
sure,
just listening.
but they're like, don't. He's like, "Don't come the back way. Come the main way." Well, as he's doing that, I set my phone up the outdoor picnic table that we have, and I had the flash on, and I had this whole video on my phone. And he's talking. I have my firearm out, like I'm freaking out, don't know what this thing was, and I'm like freaking out. Well, I look off in the distance, and you know how like a motion light has like an ambient light around it. Like when it turns on, there's like the main light, and then there's the light that lights everything else up.
Yeah.
It was that, but it was only a little orb, like a light orb in the middle of the woods. And I'm like, "What is that?" You know? And it shuts off. And my dad's like, "It's a motion light." I was like, "A motion light doesn't just light up like just a ball, you know? It lights up everything." Would that just kept going on and it would go off. Come on for a minute, it would go off for like 2 minutes, and it would just do that. Well, we're talking and we're just, speaking out loud, like if we did anything to offend you, if there's anything, anything with us here that we did to disturb you, we're sorry, just kind of trying to reach out to it because at this point my dad's freaking out. He's like, "I don't know what's going on." Well, this is what's really weird. We start hearing like like branches snapping in the woods. Well, we hear them like off to where that light was, and I seen something shoot across like like the road area. That light comes on and it lights everything up. So I'm like, that's a motion light, but why was, there was something weird about it wasn't lighting everything up. Well, no sooner than that happens, a car comes down the road. And this gets really weird. And like I said, it's in fall time, so the woods are completely like naked. You can see everything. When it comes to light behind trees, you can see everything. Well, this car comes down the road, sets off the motion light again. Well, whenever it goes around this little bend of trees, there's another road that I could see the road. There was no reason I couldn't see this car. Well, once it passed behind this little like bend of trees, the headlights just disappeared. Everything was gone. And I'm like, what the hell? Well, that happens. I freak out. I ended up, the experience is over. I go home. This is after I had my surgery. So this is 2 months probably after the event. I'm up one night. I'm freaking out. I'd slept with my shotgun and my Bible next to my bed for the remaining of the time, the whole 2 months after this happened. Well, I'm reviewing this footage on my phone. Well, you could see it's me sitting here, my dad sitting here, and there's a tree like in front of us that the camera was facing. You can see in this video, there is like the trees here, you could see something peering its head from behind the tree with glowing eyes. And that's whenever I realized like this thing had followed me back.
Holy.
This wasn't just a one and done thing. Well, fast forward, we're in December. Me and my dad, uh, I'm scrolling through Facebook, and are you familiar with the country rapper Adam Calhoun?
I am not.
So there's a big main country rap artists. They all conglomerated in Nashville, Tennessee for a big huge studio session where I got invited and I was able to go there and record with them guys. Well, it was me and my dad, and we drove up to Nashville, got a hotel, went to the studio the first day. Everything was cool. Came back the next day after the studio session. We were there all day hanging out with people. We go back to the hotel that night. Well, that day we were talking and we were talking about just, spiritual stuff as far as like good things and things that has to do with church. And I'm not a big, I'm a believer, but I'm not a big church guy. I don't, I believe on my own. I study on my own, do that stuff on my own. But I'm talking to my dad. I'm like, man, I wish I could be like those guys on an aspect of like spirituality. And he's like, why? And like, what's holding you back? And I said, I just, I don't feel like I believe in certain things enough. And he goes, well, you believe in that thing you seen out at the campground, right? And I was like, well, that's because I saw it. And he goes, well, maybe the higher power hasn't shown themselves to you on the good side yet. So I'm like, yeah, you're right. So I start looking up definitions of, I won't even say the word because I haven't said the word to this day, SW. If you know what that stands for, the old, you picking up what I'm putting down. But I called it the rake in the song that I did because, it resembles it of what I've seen a lot, but I know what it was. So we're in the hotel room. It's, about 2:33 in the morning. We're just, you know, shooting the breeze, and I'm looking up the history behind this kind of stuff. Well, I look up, the Indian tribes that had found it. Well, in the Navajo language, SW meant something else, like it had the word in it. I said that word, and I swear to God, 2 minutes later, my dad falls out and has a heart attack in the hotel room
What
after
the
we're talking about this thing. And I say the ancient Navajo word, and this happens, and I'm, you know, ever since I had seen it, I had felt dread. I felt dread that night in the camper. I felt dread in this room that I'm sitting in now. It came over me, but the amount of just despair and depression and, just all around just fear and just bad feelings that took over my body while I was laying in that hotel room while my dad was in the hospital having, emergency heart surgery because I couldn't walk, mind you. Like I said, I just had knee surgery. I couldn't walk. I could do nothing. And, like, it almost felt like what I had encountered that night had followed me, through different moments of time since I'd seen it. And right there was the moment that I was inviting it in, you know, and I feel personally, now this might sound, out of line to other people, but I feel like in that moment that I was speaking about it with my dad in that hotel room, that I was inviting it in, especially because I was calling it by its real name, you know, and and that's what happened. And ever since then, I've been out there to my campground since, and I've talked to certain people about the encounter, but it's just not something that a lot of people want to get into and everything, which, I completely understand. But, I definitely will say that I move a lot differently now than I did before, especially when I'm out in the woods alone, like I was that night. But, that's really the experience, man. And, that's what it is. That's what happened.
Holy cow. Okay, there's a lot to unpack here. First off, can you describe any details of the creature?
So what I saw whenever I was, crossing that creek, like I said, I went straight 2 and 10 as the moment I seen it, and I like locked eyes on this thing. And it was like I said, it was long, it was pale. The back legs were shorter than the arm span, the wingspan was. So you know what I mean? Like if you were to see something that was like, like how a chimp or like a monkey kind of has a long, like shorter legs and they do arms. It was like that, but it was longer and, like, skinnier. Like, I don't think the most, skinniest person in the world could get this skinny, you know what I mean? Like, it was just an unhealthy looking type. There's no way that I could describe how skinny, like, it looked like it was a skeleton with, like, a skin graft on top of the skeleton,
Really?
if that makes sense, yeah.
You say that about the back legs.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, you've heard my encounter.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like the same exact thing that we had seen, it's like we've seen the same thing.
Yeah, now you're making me think maybe it had smaller back legs that I saw and I just didn't see them
Really? Did you so you didn't
because I didn't see the legs.
oh, you didn't?
All I could see was from like the belly button up.
Yeah, because I remember you said, like, it had the long arms.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was yeah, that's like, it was almost like whenever I was reading well, not reading, listening to your encounter, like, just the sheer, just the explanation of what you've seen was really just I have like, my mouth was open, like, I got my jaw was dropped because I've never heard anybody and I've seen, like, little, AI edits and stuff like that before of, experiences like that, but I have never, you know sat down and talked one on one with, somebody that like on a platform like this and talked about it. Now I will say there's a buddy of mine out at my campground and I'll say his name. He's cool. His name's Justin. Uh, he has talked before about a certain being back there because whenever my dad had made a Facebook post that night and said if anybody's messing around back behind Greystone Bathhouse, you know, don't be doing that. Well, he commented, he said, "There's nobody messing around back there, bro. I've seen the same thing." But he's
Really?
huh?
I just said really.
Yeah, 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 yeah. He claims he has seen the same thing. Now we've never, like I said, sat down and talked about it, but he's the only other person besides you that I've ever, talked about an encounter like this with.
Wow. Were you able to see like the face or just the
So
body?
the face, like it like the face was kind of like a it was looking like it was almost like it was down on the ground, like prowling. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And I've
So it
seen
wasn't looking at you.
no, I've seen, but I've seen like the side profile, and it was kind of just like just a bony structure on the side. And like I said, I wasn't right up on it, but I could see it clear as day. And I've been back there before. Like we throw minnow traps in the creek back there. We catch minnows and just see what we can get and release them. And I mean, we've been down there before, and I've seen deer, back there on like on their back legs, but like on like their forearms on the ground, almost like it's stalking us. You know what I mean? And I've seen
Deer?
yeah, I've seen deer do that before. Like they've almost hunkered down, but their back legs are straight. Like kind of like I've never seen a deer do that only back there, and it was like one time. But like I've seen weird stuff go on back there, but I have never, and I know this was not a deer. This was not a deer. It wasn't an oversized possum. It wasn't, somebody who had just got out of the loony bin. This was something that it was too skinny to be able to sustain life, is what I kind of say. Like there's no way that
Wow.
this thing would be able to live as a human if it was that skinny.
They talk about, I've read stories about in Appalachia,
Yeah,
the knot deer.
yeah.
Have you ever heard of the knot deer?
No, I never heard of them.
The knot deer is a deer that's just not right. Like its eyes aren't right. It seems, it doesn't act like a deer. It doesn't move like a deer.
Really,
Um, a lot of people report that it has forward facing eyes. But
really.
part of the lore is that, well, some of the lore that I have heard is that it's a shapeshifter.
See, I have heard that too. I've heard that, people have encountered deer standing on their back legs running. I've personally, my brother has said that he's seen things like that kind of after my experience, but, who am I to say, no, you haven't, because that would be basically like if somebody did that to me, it just,
Right.
I've heard that before, it's like that's something that kind of, dude, me and my girlfriend and her friend went out there this past October. Actually, it was almost the year anniversary, but it was October 13th, I believe we were out there. But like, I've followed that stuff so much to where like we were outside, dude. I'm a big 49ers fan. I had my jersey on. We had the TV outside. We were watching the game, and it was don't tell me that's a Rams jersey. Oh man, see, I'm from the St. Louis area. Hey, that was actually Thursday Night Football. They were playing the Rams and they beat them. But I don't know if you remember that game. But no, we had the TV outside. We're watching. I'm cooking steaks. The vibes are great. We're having a great time. And like I seen something moving at the top of the hill, and I freaked out kind of. It was a deer. Like we had ended up getting in the car driving around the block. It was a deer, but kind of like you said, that like it looked normal. It was walking normal. Everything was normal, but it was just not doing deer things. It wasn't like I got out of the car and I was like, "Hey," and it would just stare and look at me. It's like, why are you not running right now? You know what I mean? I guess just I can't wrap my head around it, man. It's just so so many things happened all at once, and then so many things followed it. If that
Right.
makes sense.
Now, the orb that you saw, the glowing light or whatever,
Yeah.
did it itself move, or was it always in the same spot?
It was always in the same spot, and it's like I know what it was because I saw what it was, but it was like malfunctioning, but it wasn't a uniform malfunction. It wasn't a, do 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 doom boom. It was always something different. It would come on for like a minute and then it would like turn off for like 2 minutes.
So it was a motion light?
Yeah, it was a motion light, but it wasn't, it was just keeping the orb.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now I'm understanding.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It wasn't putting off the light
Yeah, the
around it. It was
ambient light,
just
like the yeah,
gotcha. Now I understand.
yeah,
So it's like something was absorbing the light,
yeah, yeah,
which explains why you couldn't see the car when it went around the corner.
yeah, and it was just like it just disappeared.
Wow.
And I can, once we get off here, man, I can send you the video if you want me to on Facebook to where you can see this thing peering around the tree. Like
Oh, absolutely.
you have to kinda turn the contrast up a little bit and everything to, like and zoom in on it, but, like, without the zooming in, without everything, you can see the eyeball. It's a blue
Oh, yeah, I wanna
glowing
see this.
eyeball behind the tree.
And if you're okay, I'll include it in the video.
Yeah, if you wanna do that, it's completely fine with me, dude. I mean, I just
Okay.
I would my main goal on coming on here is, to speak with the like-minded person that has, had encounters like this because honestly, I feel like that's what I've needed, since the encounter because, this kind of stuff, if you're a fan of the supernatural, the cryptids, the paranormal experiences and stuff like that, that you can, get on and hear things about it. I'll tell you, I mean, I watch every single scary movie that comes to the theaters. Like I researched this stuff before. I knew what it was when I seen it. I was in so much shock that I didn't know. You know what I mean? I couldn't fathom it. It's like it's super cool and interesting until it happens to you. You know what I mean? I mean,
Exactly.
I still look it up, but it's like my dad, he straight up like, "Is this what you seen?" And like I fell out again, dude. I was just like, "Don't show," like freaking out, dude. It was bad. I can't even
Yeah.
look at it, dude.
Right. Right. When you saw the creature, you were talking about the fear and stuff like that that you've had over time.
Yeah.
Did you feel that fear when you saw it?
Man, dude, whenever I seen it, my first instinct was just like, see, I've played football, my entire life. I've been, I've, like, I don't know if you ever played football, but like, whenever you take a hit, you just like kind of just like you get stunned.
Mhm.
Like it was like that, but it wasn't like a physical stun. It was like I just locked up. Like I was straight. I was like I said, jamming down the road, listening to Stevie Ray Vaughan, "Voodoo Child." Like that's one of my favorite songs. I'm just jamming out to it, and then like I just straight turn the radio completely all the way down, two hands on the wheel, got to the top of the hill, and as soon as I got to the top of the hill, I just panicked, like
Yeah.
hyperventilating, couldn't speak,
I
and
get it.
it
I
wa
get it. That's I was the same way. It took me my wife was sitting in the car with me. She
wow,
didn't see it, but it took me 5 or 10 minutes to be able to tell her what I saw.
yeah, like I was I don't know if it would have been any different if I was, with somebody else, but like dude, I was alone and it was like that feeling and it's like I don't know like I don't know how you felt because I wasn't there. I'm not you. But like just the feeling of when something like that happens and like you don't have somebody there to be like, "Yo, did you see that?" Like just like I felt and I don't want to sound like I'm, exaggerating, but it's like I really felt like I was like the most alone I had ever been in my life. Like I felt, you know, like I felt the furthest from any human connection when I was in that moment just because I was so alone. There was nobody with me. There was nobody within distance of me really. Like if I was walking by myself and I'd seen that and that thing had came like, crawling over to me and got me, like nothing could have heard me scream. Like
Right.
nobody would have heard me scream.
How far away when you were with your dad, how far away were you from where you saw it the first time?
Probably I mean, I'd probably say like a 7-minute car drive from, but it was like
So
I said,
5
it was,
miles?
yeah, it was down in a ravine, like it was,
Right.
like it's in between two like hills. So it's like down there and then you go up the hill, back over and around a big, down around a big bend and then you're there at my lot. And then I say
So
seven,
it
do what?
wasn't like it was a such a tremendous amount of distance that this thing couldn't have made it that far.
Oh, I mean, it could have definitely. I mean, if this thing was like a supernatural being, like it could have 100% like followed me. You know what I mean? Like it.
Right.
I mean, I've seen videos. And I don't know if it's AI. I don't know if it's fake. Like the guy that this happened to will not come out and speak about it. But it's like there's a 911 dispatch call, and it's the guy on the phone with the police, and he's talking about, there's something on the road or whatever, and then he's like, "It's in my truck bed. It's in my truck bed." And then he starts screaming, "It's not human." You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like that. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. But like,
I do, and
yeah,
I have heard an interview with him.
have you?
I will send you a link to it.
Yeah, I have not heard anything. I've not heard anything like that.
Yeah, Wes Germer did it on. He didn't interview the guy on Sasquatch Chronicles. Um, he played the 911 call at the beginning of. I want to say it's episode 1192 or 1194, one of the two. I'll find it and I'll send it to
Yeah,
you.
for sure.
He played the 911 call at the beginning of his episode. He had his normal Sasquatch episode. And then at the end, he played the 911 call again and an interview that somebody had done with the guy. And you can tell it's him. It's his
Wow.
voice. I mean, it's obviously him. And he describes what he saw in
Wow.
detail. It was what I saw.
So the same thing.
Yeah.
Like I'm saying, dude, that thing could it goes back to what I was saying. I mean, that thing could have easily jumped in the bed of my truck, because if those things are super, I mean, I got a boxer, like he's skinny, he's got, long arm, he's fast. This thing that I seen could 100% have pulled its body weight with just one half of the length of arm it had compared to the legs. Like
Wow.
it was, I don't know, man. It was just one of those things. It's I don't,
So you said that you were, you were kind of into this stuff before.
yeah.
Did you ever have any other like paranormal encounters or UFO or anything like that?
Oh, dude. So I'm from a town which is spitting distance from a little town called Alton, Illinois, and that's one of the most haunted small towns in America. I mean, we'd be in high school and we'd go load up on a Friday night, you're on Halloween night even, in my buddy's truck, and we'd go walk the cemetery where there's headstones dating back to the 1800s. And I'll tell you, I mean, I have another paranormal experience which has nothing to do with the cryptid stuff, but I mean, I'll tell you if you'd like to hear it.
Oh, absolutely.
So it was me and my buddy and another friend of ours, and it was a girl, and we were in high school, and we're walking, and I'm trying to be that guy, like I'm 6'8", I'm trying to be the guy.
Holy cow. You're a freaking cryptid yourself, dude.
I'm Bigfoot. No, I'm just playing, but no, I'm trying to be that.
Shaved Bigfoot. Holy cow. We're on my show.
Yeah. But yeah, man, it was like I was trying to be that guy, like don't worry about it. If anything happens, I got it. But we're walking down this little path, and it's like a path, and like down on the other side, like on each side of the path, there's hills that go down to the graves, and I just got a really cold chill on my neck after we're talking about this. But no, so we're walking, and I look down to the right, like down this little hill, and we don't have a flashlight or nothing. We're just going off literally the light from the moon and the street lights. Well, we're talking about just like ghosts and stuff. Well, I see behind this headstone that it literally looked like a white pillowcase, just kind of just bouncing around, behind this tombstone. I'm like, I looked a little closer, I didn't see anything. I'm like, yo, like there's something down there, bro. Like if you got a flashlight, shine it down there. I'm not trying to mess with none of this for real. I'm just trying to, get in the Halloween spirit. Well, my buddy's like, calm down. You're freaking out. You're tripping. Nothing's down there. So I'm like, all right. We're walking down this trail a little bit more. We hear talking, and I said, I told you I saw something. Well, then I see a phone light up, and it was a bunch of emo kids down there, and we're like, they're reading poems and stuff like that, in the cemetery at dark time. we go down there, we're talking to them, and they were super cool people. I was like, what are you guys doing out there and everything? And they're just talking, and they said, which way did you guys come up? And I said, we came from that way up the hill. They looked at me dead in my face and said, watch out for the lady in white. I look at my buddy and he's like, okay, you might not be crazy. Like, well, and then
Wow.
I ended up looking up the lore of this stuff. And I'll tell you another, uh, a guy that I've actually talked to. His name's Troy. He's a historian and stuff like that in the Alton area, and he's you know written articles and stuff like that about Alton paranormal stuff, and he definitely like hit the nail on the head with the whole you know spirits around the cemetery thing because like it was in line with everything that I had seen at the cemetery that night and what those people had told me.
Wow. So did you say you know the story behind the woman in white?
Yeah, so it's back in the yeah, I think it was 1800s. I think it was smallpox or some other deadly disease, but it had taken over the. So there used to be a big Confederate prison in Alton, and that was during the Civil War, and that got torn down, and since and a lot of different buildings have been built, but whenever it was this prison, there was like all the prisoners got sick, a lot of civilians got sick, and there's a place across the river which is now attached to the other, like the Missouri side of the river. And but at one time it was in the middle of the river, and it was called Sunflower Island, and that's where they would take the sick patients, and they would just put them in like a sanatorium there or whatever, like a doctor's thing there, and they
Mm-hmm.
would let them cure whatever was going to happen to them. Well, the lady had a child, and the child got sick, and the child died. Well, and this is actually documented. It's stuff that I've heard them talk about. It's documented and everything. Like the child died. The mother had either died from a broken heart or unaliving, and she never found out where her baby was buried. And now her spirit roams the cemetery looking for her child's grave.
Wow.
And that's been the urban legend and stuff like that in the area for a long time. But I do remember hearing about an actual um, document that stated like the death certificates and stuff like that.
Okay. Wow. Wow.
I believe so.
Holy
I'm not
cow.
100% sure on where I heard that, but I just feel like I remember hearing that before.
So back to the crawler.
Right.
Um, how long did it take you before you were able to go back out there?
Oh man, and I didn't go back out there till springtime, back when it was time to, open everything up and, you know, fill the campers up with water and, get ready for summertime. But to this day, I still don't go down there by myself. Yeah, I mean,
I get it.
I remember at one point this past summer, um, there was a twilight poker run, and that's where everybody gets on their four wheelers and side by sides and goes and rides around. And one of the stops was Greystone Bathhouse, where I had seen this thing, and I still felt uneasy down there. And there was 100 people that were
Wow.
all riding in a line, lit up side by sides and everything like that. And I still felt uncomfortable as crap to be down there.
Do you know, are there any like cemeteries in the area?
I do not know, but I will tell you from day one when we bought that property back whenever I was a kid, I remember me and my dad and my brother going down there to that little creek there because we call it Crawdad Creek because you go down there and you flip in, you rock over, and there's crawdads under there. You know what I mean? Like we go down there and hang out, in the daytime, and when there's people with me, of course. But I mean, we have always had like very, very, very like uneasy feelings about that creek and that because it's like if you go down the creek, there's like a fence that like you can't go because that's literally the back of the campground property. And I say campground, a lot of people think of like, you know, paved roads, like back in, plug in. It's not like that. It's like you got to buy property, you got to clear it, you got to, put structures on it. You know, you got to build your property, but it's like
Hmm.
that's the very back of that primitive area. And if you follow the creek, there's like like a flat field, and then there's like bluffs that go up. And it's like I've been back there before, like looking and being like, you know, there's something off about this area back here, 100%. Like it's just very it's just very uneasy. It's always been uneasy, but now it's 100% more uneasy.
Right. Right. I don't think I need to ask this question because I know the answer to this question. Would you want to see it again?
Oh, dude. I mean, of course not. I mean, would I want to see it? No, but if I did see it again, I would definitely want to be around people the next time, and I would and I don't know, I almost like I'm a curious, you know, I'm a curious person, and I feel like I would wanna see, like, what it looks like out in the completely open, you know what I mean? But from a very far distance, if not a video, you
Right.
know what I mean? Like,
Right.
would I wanna see it again? Of course not, but if I ever did encounter it again, like, I don't even know what I would do. Like,
I can tell you what I would do if I was in the same situation I was before. I'd run it over.
yeah.
Absolutely.
'Cause you
I'd hit
you
it.
said that you got back and there was claw marks on your truck, right?
Well, it wasn't claw marks. It was wintertime
Yeah.
and we had like road salt on on the side of
Right,
our
right, right.
vehicle, and it just like finger marks down the side.
Really?
I'll send them to you. Yeah.
Wow, dude,
Wow.
that's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, but that,
Wow.
like, you know, ultimately leading to the song that I had wrote about it, it was like I just, you know, ever since like the time had settled and was really like, okay, like it's not as deep as it was before. You know, I was like, you know, I want to write a song about this experience, and I was like, you know how they always said like, if you got a story to tell and you're a musician, you might as well just tell it. That's kind of
Hmm.
how it just was, and I was like, if I can put certain emotion into a song, because I was always just strictly a rapper. Well, this was like this project that I put out called Jar of Sin. It was it was rap, southern rock, and there's a grunge rock song, and the grunge rock song is the one called The Rake. And you know, I just wanted to put as much, you know, it's got the creepiness, you know, the reporter in the beginning, you know, telling about like
Hmm.
national park disappearances, and then you talk about the experience. It's got that low grunge, like super creepy vibe to it. And
Right.
that's exactly what I had in mind whenever I wanted to write the song, just because I want people who have never experienced that before to be able to know kind of, you know, not the demographic of it, but the just like the overall, like, you know, the vibe of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just try to make it
Yeah.
as real as
I've
possible.
listened to it.
Yeah.
I don't remember if you sent me the link or your
I
dad
think my
did.
dad probably did.
Yeah. Yeah. I listened to it. And yeah, it definitely puts you in that
Yeah.
creepy vibe. And that's the best way to describe these things, man. They're creepy.
Yeah, man. It's, you know, you see things like that, and there's just some things that you can't really come back from, and that's one of them.
Right.
You know, like I can't
Yep.
even
I
like I'm an avid outdoorsman, dude. I love to camp, I love to hunt, I love to fish, and it's like imagine walking to the duck hole. Now, granted, I have a shotgun with me, but like imagine walking to the duck hole and you got like you're looking over your shoulder every 5 minutes because you're the big guy, you're carrying the sled, your buddy done took off to beat everybody else there. So like it's kind of it scares me to do a lot of things these days when it goes to like alone in the outdoors,
Yeah.
you know.
I get it. I get it. And you're not alone in that.
Right.
Whether it's you hear people talking about Sasquatch encounters or dogman encounters.
Right.
And it's the same thing.
Yeah,
People that have spent their
100%.
entire lives out in the woods
Yeah,
and they start second guessing themselves. I get it.
right, and it's like,
I get it.
you know, like I said, I love the outdoors, I love to hunt and fish, everything like that. It's like, if my buddy asked me, "Hey, I'm gonna take off and I'm gonna drop you a pin in 30 minutes, just stay walking on this trail," you know, am I gonna do it? Yeah, I'm gonna give him a hard time, be like, "Hey, dude, like, we don't have to do that," you know what I mean? But, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
still gonna do it, but it just adds a whole 'nother type of vibe to it, you know? Like, it's just
Because you know there's things out there now.
yeah, man, it's like walking through the brush with a flashlight, and it's like you turn your flashlight real quick because you think that's what you think you see it again.
Yeah.
I just don't wanna
Yeah.
hear what they sound like when they mimic your loved ones. That's what I don't wanna hear.
Yeah. I I didn't hear anything. I was inside my vehicle, but yeah, yeah, I don't want there's a lot of things that you hear about from Appalachia, especially that
That scared the hell out of me, dude. I don't know what the hell I don't know what
Kornbread, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you?
yeah, man, you can find me at, you can find me on all platforms, Kornbread, anywhere you get your music, YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify, anything like that. You can find me on Instagram at corn_bread_rap and Facebook at cornbread. I got a lot of different types of music, man. I got a lot of country stuff I'm working on. Got some southern rock, some country stuff, some country rap, everything like that. You guys can find me on all social media platforms. Excuse my voice, I'm just going a little hoarse, but it's yeah, you guys can find me anywhere.
All right, man. Well, once again, thank you for coming on Miss Monsters and Mullets. Like I said, I was looking forward to this conversation because it's one of those things that not a lot of people have seen,
Right.
and finding somebody else who's seen at least something very similar to what I saw, is kind of cathartic,
Yeah, it really is,
you
man.
know.
And it's I mean, like I said, there's just some things you can't come back from whenever you see certain things like that. And it's you know, I plan on going out there a lot more this summer and, even with doing shows and, out of state and stuff, going places I've never been. So if I ever see anything again, I'll let you know and I'll come back on if you're willing to have me. We'll talk about it, buddy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, everybody check out Cornbread wherever you find your music. I'll put some links down in the description.
Appreciate
And
that.
if you've had a paranormal encounter you'd like to share, you can email me at mythsandmullets@gmail.com, or you can have your dad get a hold of me on Facebook like Cornbreads did. Until next time, I'll talk to you later. Gotta go. And that's it for tonight. Make sure you're checking out the description on this episode for any links associated with the guest. And if you've had a paranormal encounter you'd like to share, you can email me at mythsandmullets@gmail.com. Good night, everyone.
Shadow in the pines lurking in the dusky air. Bigfoot stomps through the woods like he don't care. Lights in the sky flash green then blue. Aliens descending with a secret or two.